Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be updating on this Dorcus palawanicus breeding tank, which I made a month ago. And so right here I've got a spoon with me and the enclosure with me. Let's get straight into the video. Okay, so as you can see right here is the breeding tank, and first thing you can see is that in the white rotten wood, well, let's call it the white fermented wood. Okay, so the white fermented wood there's quite a few holes in there, and she's dug up a few spots inside herself, which is a very good sign because this is a sign where she's laid eggs inside the wood. And if she usually digs into these woods and lay inside of them, so they don't lay outside of the wood, they lay inside the wood. And there it is, the female. This is the Dorcus palawanicus female, and it's a relatively large female as well. So this one I believe is almost 50 millimeters, if I'm not wrong. I can't really remember, but it's something along the lines of that. Right here again, as you can see, we have to pour out all the things inside the box. There are still some holes I can see on the side with the substrate, and so first things first, get a bigger tub, and you want to just gently make sure they don't spill, of course, and just pour them out gently. And when you pour them out, just give them a good tap with the spoon or your hand. You know, sometimes I squeeze the box a little bit, give it a bit of pressure. You really want to make sure that it comes out, and it comes out cleanly. Now, how can you tell if the female is pregnant or not? Basically, I just keep the male and the female in the same enclosure for a week or so, and they're pretty much most likely pregnant. We just have to make sure that male has been eating for over 3 months. That way, it's more stable and it doesn't kill the female. And my recommendation is to also keep the female inside the breeding tank for up to a month and a half or 2 months, just to make sure she actually lays enough eggs. But I don't want to risk the fact that the female's mandibles or her legs or claws will damage the egg or kill the larvae, which is why I dig them up earlier. And also, when they're still eggs, I can watch them hatch, and when they hatch from the eggs, I can place them straight into the kimchi bottles. This would maximize their overall size growth, and this would maximize their overall nutritional intake, because this is what I'm aiming for. I want to aim for breeding larger sized beetles. I want to aim for breeding healthy big beetles. So this is why I dig them out pretty early. I don't need a lot of eggs, and you know, just a few dozen of eggs would do for me, and I just want to make sure they grow up healthy and big. So back to the fermented wood we have right here. And before we go to the next step, there is something we need. Now, just in case I get my hands dirty, I really want to put on gloves for this one because it's going to be a mess of a work. There's going to be so much digging to do, and it's going to be a handful of work. Basically, it's best to use your hands when it comes to opening these logs because you don't want to damage the eggs. Now, here is a better view of the log. There's still some substrate right here, and generally speaking, I don't really dig through the substrates. I don't really look through them. I give them a quick skim through because it's very unlikely that you're gonna get eggs inside the substrate. So going straight to the log would be the best thing to do. Now, I've cleared out all the substrates. Now I'm just left with this big piece of log and also a tub to catch the falling pieces from the log. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to gently brush out any loose pieces or any I would say maybe like broken pieces out, so you can clear out some of the parts you don't need and make sure you get a better view of what's inside the log, and they come off pretty easily. By this time now, the log should be pretty easy to break because the hydration it absorbs from the substrate and the amount of time it's spent inside fermenting even more is going to make this log even more softer. It is also because, you know, the beetle has dug through the log and there's a lot of holes in it, which is why it's easier to break than before. And the first thing you want to do is you just want to break off a couple of pieces. You don't want to open up the log all at once because you're going to get yourself so confused. If your tub is really big, fine, that's okay. But as you can see, my tub isn't that big. I don't have a lot of space, so I'm just going to break them up piece by piece and I don't want to break the entire log up all in one go. This is to make sure that I can find all the eggs I need to, and make sure, you know, I don't miss out on any eggs and lose them in the process. And as you can see, what I'm doing right here is I'm gently just breaking them into smaller pieces, looking through the wood and looking through, seeing whether if there are beetle eggs inside, or in fact beetle larvae inside. And this is something I really enjoy doing, because this is a very pleasurable process. You know, you're just breaking pieces of wood off and you're just waiting for that nice surprise to come in. You're just not sure when or which piece. It's pretty fun. So if you guys ever get into beetle breeding, this is also the little fun bits and pieces you get to play with in the process. It really reminds me of almost like, you know, if you're digging for fossils or treasures, etc. And after not so long, I finally found a piece of wood which looks like there's a larva inside. Right here, as you can see, is a larva, and it's a freshly hatched larva. You can tell because the head is very light colored, it's not very dark, so it's a very new larva. These are very fragile. They just hatched from the egg, so their entire exoskeleton is very soft. We have to be very careful, very gentle in this process. We don't want to break them. They are smaller than the size of your average booger, so watch out for them. Now, the way I store them is I get these boxes. As you can see, these containers are small containers inside a larger container, and the reason why I have these containers is because it helps me organize the eggs, and tells me which batch of beetles these larvae come from. So say for example, in here I'm going to label on the bigger box stating the date and also the species of the larva that these guys are from. And so the first thing you want to do is not this. You don't want to just put a piece of wood inside and put the larva inside, because it's not going to find its way through and it's not going to be able to eat them. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the larva sits inside an already set up box, and I'm going to show you how to make that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you put some of these fermented wood flakes inside, or soil. And these Beetle soils, they need to be pressed down with a lot of pressure. So you want to make sure it's as tight as possible and it's not loose flying around. And then you want to put in some fermented wood. So these white fermented wood, these kinshi wood, will really help them grow in the first stages of the larval phase. And so you want to make sure that this is sufficient for them, because this is going to be their first source of food. And then just put a little more wood flake on top, and make sure that you can make a spot for them to sit properly, for the eggs or the larvae to sit properly. Finally, you want to cover up with some more wood flakes or the beetle soil on top, and make sure it's covered properly. And then you want to close the lid. Make sure that the lid has ventilation holes, which I'm going to poke in on all of them later. I'm going to poke one hole on each corner. It doesn't have to be a big hole, just a small ventilation gap for them will be fine. For the rest of the process, I'm just going to fast forward all of the wood breaking process so we can speed things up a little bit, and I'm just going to stop every now and then whenever I find an egg or a larva. So right here is an interesting piece of wood. As you can see, there is a little hole right there. So an egg might have been sitting in there, but I'm not sure where I've dropped it, so I'm gonna have to find the egg again later. And these things can happen sometimes. So keep an eye out for wood like these, because if you see a wood with a round sort of hole inside, then you know there was probably an egg or a larva inside. And so you want to look around the box and make sure you don't lose it. And I think I've found it. I think it should be here. Yeah, that one right there. This might have been the one that dropped off from that piece of wood. And I found another one. Yeah, so 2 eggs, which is pretty cool. And we're getting there. I mean, it's a lot of progress. It's great. And let's see how many eggs the female beetle has laid. Okay, so I found 3 eggs, and now I'm just going to quickly set up the box. Here are another 3 boxes, and there we go. So now we're just going to place the eggs inside nicely, and so when the eggs hatch, they can start munching on these wood. As you can see, the eggs right there, they sit properly, and once we place all the eggs on top, we're just going to fill the top with soil, beetle soil as usual. And there it is, another egg inside. Oh, actually, no, this is a larva, my bad. Here's the larva sitting inside, and this one's quite a big one as well. It's still in its first stage, but it's compared to the rest of the larva, this one's relatively slightly larger. As you can see, the form of this larva is more mature than the other ones. And here's a big piece of wood, and inside this piece of wood there's another egg in there. So I'm just gonna quickly pour the egg out. I found the egg inside, but I couldn't show it on camera, so there it is. It's quite a big one as well. It's quite yellow, so I think it should be turning into a larva pretty soon. But I think there's going to be a few more inside this piece of wood, and as you can see, there's a few spots where the egg was sitting. So yeah, this piece of wood might have some more eggs in there. So I've just dropped an egg accidentally, and there it is. There's a hole right there, and okay, I've dropped it again. There's a hole right there on a piece of wood. As you can see, it's round, it's quite narrow, and these are places where you'll find the eggs inside the wood. So in this piece of wood is another 2 eggs. As you can see, there's quite a lot of eggs from this breeding project this time, and it's quite a success. If you guys haven't checked out my last breeding video, the Dorcus Hoppe video, you can check it out. You know, it's a nice video to watch as well. But this one would be a little more insightful because I've actually decided to show you guys, you know, the before and after the setting up of this breeding enclosure. And as you can see, that this breeding method does give you guys some result, and I would say this is actually quite a good result because the breeding box, the breeding tub that I've used, it's not big, it's quite a small one as well, and considering the amount of eggs and larvae we've gotten from this breeding project, I would say it's a pretty good success. Now, so far we have got 13 eggs. Okay, 13 eggs / larvae in here. That is pretty good, but I am thinking there might be some more hidden inside these pile of smaller wood chips. So I'm not going to throw them away actually. What we're going to do is we're going to get the old breeding tub back with the beetle soil at the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pour all the wood inside for another month, just to make sure that there are no larvae inside or eggs inside, because you never know, you might, you know, have lost some in the process and you couldn't find any in the process, or maybe you've missed out on 1 or 2 in the process, and you know, you don't want to kill them. So just put them back inside and leave it for another month, make sure the humidity is kept, and then wait and see. And guess what? So I'm glad that I didn't throw these things out, because look what I found, another egg. And actually I found another egg, so there are 2 eggs left in the tub that I didn't see just now. There it is. Yeah, as you can see, it's very difficult to find them, so don't throw them away. That gives us a total of 15 eggs and larvae from this project. I would call it a big success. So thank you guys for watching. Keep an eye out on the next videos. I'm gonna be posting another one pretty soon as well, so please subscribe if you guys can. Thanks.